Chapter 5197. He was just trying to stop her. Long Aotian's motive was to cooperate with Huang Wuyo to keep her in that illusory space that was isolated from the outside world. But in order to let her enter this place safely, Long Aotian had blocked all the dangers in front of her. So when she knew that Long Aotian and Huang Wuyo had teamed up, she still couldn't blame him. Perhaps this was Long Aotian's motive. Or perhaps she believed that one's mouth could lie, but not one's eyes. She could clearly feel that. When Huang Wuyo mentioned Feng Gu, the change in Long Aotian's gaze and expression, that absolutely couldn't be faked. Perhaps, in Long Aotian's heart, Feng Gu really occupied a very important position. Even if Feng Gu had sealed her in the Divine Emperor's tomb for 10,000 years. Long Aotian had never hated her. Perhaps Long Aotian really had some difficulties. But these difficulties had nothing to do with her. Yiqing Luo adjusted her emotions and caressed the azure dew bracelet lightly. I know, I won't be rash, I want to survive more than anyone else. That cultivation method is too attractive to the spiritual body. That cultivation method wants to absorb me to become its nourishment. Old man Tsang's tone was very heavy and somewhat strained. I have to hide in the purgatory tower and temporarily fall into a deep sleep. Be careful. Yiqing Luo caressed the azure dew bracelet lightly. I know, go ahead. Old man Tsang's aura gradually disappeared into the azure dew bracelet. Yiqing Luo released the azure dew bracelet and slightly raised her eyes, staring at the sky full of blood web. At this moment, if he destroyed all the coffins that had been set up with the sinister forbidden spell, it would be impossible for him to escape. Huang Wuyo's plan, wouldn't it come to nothing? Cut off the source of Huang Wuyo's power. Could stop Huang Wuyo from regaining his strength. But if it was really like what she had predicted, how could she destroy this Azura hell so easily? With Huang Wuyo's cautious character, she absolutely had no way to easily destroy this place. She had to think of a way. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes flickered incessantly, flowing with splendor. She paused for a moment, then quietly moved her body toward the direction of the coffin and stretched out her body. She had just moved. His wrist was suddenly grasped by a large, ice-cold palm. The powerful force made her unable to move even half a step. Yiqing Luo's petite body instantly collapsed as she speedily turned around and raised her palm to attack. However, his outstretched hand was held tightly by another large palm. The refreshing fragrance of plums seeped into his nose. Yiqing Luo's struggling movement stopped slightly. What entered her eyes was a face that was as cold as cast. That pair of emotionless black eyes reflected her thoughts. The man's thin lips were slightly pursed and his expression was cold. Just like his aura, it was also extremely cold. Yiqing Luo frowned as she suppressed her voice. Zhuwu Axayan, what are you doing here? The man in front of him was dressed in a fiery red robe, but he looked cold. Who else could it be but Zhu Wuxin? The moment she opened her mouth, the man raised his hand to block her lips. The girl leaned back and moved her head away, avoiding Zhu Wuxin's hand. Zhu Wuxin had no intention of forcing it. Seeing that she had calmed down, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. The young lady's elbow bent as she blocked his chest. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she raised her eyes to look at him. Her eyes were filled with doubts. Zhu Wuxin quietly opened that pair of deep and emotionless eyes, staring straight at her for some time. It made Yiqing Luo's hair stand on end. Chapter 5198. Following that, he lowered his body slightly. That black hair which was hanging on his shoulder fell onto her body. Yiqing Luo's elbow exerted strength as she tried to retreat further away from him. He had already leaned towards her ear as he spoke in an extremely soft voice, "Don't move. Yi Qing Luo's elbow pressed against him as she bit her lips, gritting her teeth in anger. Let go. If you go over, you'll be sending yourself to your death. Zhu Wuxian's voice was indifferent. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased even tighter. Who said I'm going over? She wasn't an idiot. How could she possibly rush forward rashly? She had found the exit of that illusory space through the raging flames. Huang Wuyo had a high possibility of knowing her current location. The minute she made any movements, Huang Wuyo would find her. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, Zhu Wuxian's hand stiffened as he immediately turned silent. His brows drooped slightly. This distance, this angle. Yi Qing Luo could clearly see that crow's feather-like eyelashes drooping slightly. Probably because Zhu Wuxian was used to being cold. At this moment, looking at his eyelashes, one would feel that the arc of the shadow was a little cold. His face was expressionless and extremely cold. Yi Qing Luo couldn't tell what he was feeling right now. He had no intention to let go of her. But she really couldn't take it. Yi Qing Luo struggled as she tried to pry his hand away. Let go. This time, Zhu Wuxian only slightly withdrew his palm, as though he wanted to hold her again. But he only held her for a moment before he lowered his eyes and let go of her. Yi Qing Luo immediately retreated, leaving the boundary of his presence. Looking at the young lady's unfamiliar and alienating attitude, Zhu Wuxian's emotionless eyes flashed past a tinge of pain. His vision lightly swept past those 100 over coffins. Retracting his vision, he leaned against the stone wall as his voice was very light as he spoke indifferently, as long as you don't do anything silly. Why are you here? Yi Qing Luo repeated her own question. This place was where Huang Wuyo was sealed. Even if Huang Wuyo and Zhu Wuxian were in a cooperative relationship, Yi Qing Luo absolutely didn't believe that Huang Wuyo would tell Zhu Wuxian where he was residing. After all, the him now was still in a sealed state. Chu Wuxin's strength was unfathomable. If they knew that he was sealed, they would do something to him. That would become a pile of big trouble. Thus, how could Zhu Wuxin possibly appear here? Zhu Wuxin was silent for a moment. His cold and thin lips pursed slightly as he said indifferently, I followed you here. Follow me. Yi Qing Luo frowned. She had followed Long Outyen to this place. Chu Wuxin had been following them all this time, and neither she nor Long Outyen had noticed. This Zhu Wuxin, just how strong was he? Chu Wuxin gazed deeply at her face. His slightly hoarse and cold voice carried a hint of imperceptible gentleness. The yin energy here is very heavy. I was worried about you, so I followed you. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. So, you have been following me secretly. Was he a *king idiot? Chu Wuxin nodded and then shook his head. On his cold and handsome face, there was actually an expression similar to that of being wronged. That kind of grievance was shown by Zhu Wuxian, who had facial paralysis, but it didn't seem out of place. The God Emperor's tomb has appeared and you've succeeded the throne as the new divine phoenix. I know of Abyss Palace's thirst for the inheritance, and I also know that Abyss Palace has ill intentions towards you. He paused slightly. Those who weren't good at explaining unnaturally licked their dry lips. I'm just worried about you. Chapter 5199. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips pursed. Towards Zhu Wuxian, he rarely showed this kind of expression and emotions in front of outsiders and only showed to her. Even welcome, based on his character, he would never say such sweet nothings. In front of her, time and time again. Facing such a stubborn person, Yi Qing Luo really didn't know how to face him. Cold and neglect. None of them were able to make Zhu Wuxian let go of his obsession towards her. Now, to think that he had followed her to this dangerous place. No matter how strong his ability was. To be called a monster by Long Ao, to be able to cross hands with Feng Gu at his peak, and was totally not inferior to Feng Gu. In this territory which belonged to Huang Wuyu. Once it triggered Huang Wuyu's retaliation. Huang Wuyu probably wouldn't care about Zhu Wu Exan and directly took action. As though he saw the worry in Yiqing Luo's eyes. A hint of a smile appeared on the man's cold face. He gazed at Yiqing Luo, as his deep eyes seemed to be filled with tenderness. "You're worried about me." It wasn't a question, but a statement. From Yiqing Luo, he sensed the concern in her heart. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much change. She opened her long and narrow eyes as she met his gaze calmly. "I don't want to accept your feelings." The young lady's words were icy cold. She had rejected him cleanly. Not even a single thought was left for him. Zhu Wuxian's pitch-black eyes floated a few wisps of chilly glint, as it faintly revealed a ruthless aura. But very quickly, it was suppressed by him. Yiqing Luo, whose mind was filled with thoughts on how to reject Zhu Wuxian, didn't see this detail. This sentence was actually not a lie to agitate Zhu Wuxian. She wasn't willing to accept Zhu Wuxian's feelings. Because she didn't want to have too much to do with him. The minute he really got injured or paid any price for her. She was afraid that she would feel a tiny bit of guilt towards Zhu Wuxian. She didn't need this chance to feel guilty. Her heart was very soft. It could only accommodate Dmo Xian alone. The smile on Zhu Wuxian's face slowly faded, as he regained his usual grave and stern look. However, his gaze was still fixated on her without blinking. Then, his thin lips moved slightly as he calmly changed the topic. "Only I can help you here." Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to reply, he continued, "Don't be in a hurry to reject me, after all. I also want to get out of here alive." Yiqing Luo's words were stuck in her throat. Because of her, Chu Wuxin had entered Huang Wuyu's sealed land. Whether it was her wish or not. It was already a fact that Chu Wuxin was standing there. Nothing else would be of any use now. She acted alone. He might as well stay with Zhu Wuxin. Now, old man Tsang wasn't here. There were many things that she did not understand, but Zhu Wuxin did. Chapter 5200. Yiqing Luo was still puzzled over why Zhu Wuxian's hand was so cold when she heard his icy cold voice entering her ears. "Look over there." Yiqing Luo subconsciously raised her eyes as she followed Zhu Wuxian's gaze. Over 100 coffins began to sway slowly, bit by bit. The extent of the swaying was very big. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't be able to detect it. Yiqing Luo wanted to ask Zhu Wuxian why his hand was cold, but she instantly threw it to the back of her mind. She stared unblinkingly at the hundreds of coffins. She didn't notice it. While her attention was fully focused on the coffins. The brows of the man beside her, who was as cold as cast, sank slightly. His crow's feather lashes covered the dark storm beneath his eyes. His arms hung down slightly, and under his wide red sleeves, his 5 fingers were clenched into a fist. If he didn't sense wrongly. Earlier, Yiqing Luo was worried about him. But it was merely because of the movement of the coffins. She had completely isolated him from the outside world. If it was anyone else, there was no need to use Dmo Xian as a comparison. Even if it was any member of her mercenary group, any unknown character. She would probably be more concerned until she ascertained that the other party was really fine before she could be at ease to pay attention to other matters. In her heart, he totally didn't exist at all. Yiqing Luo didn't notice the change in Zhu Wuxian's emotions. She could vaguely feel the cool yin qi behind her. She assumed that this was because she was in Huang Wuyu's sealed grounds and the surroundings were filled with dense yin qi. It was normal to feel the yin qi. The hundreds of coffins in front started to sway slightly but slowly. The frequency of the swaying increased. In the end, it became violent swaying. Yi Qing Luo could even hear the sound of the coffins hitting the ground. But when the coffins were shaking violently, the orderly undead corpse puppet still hadn't appeared. This also meant that this kind of swaying was within the normal operating range. While the coffins were shaking, Yi Qing Luo saw wave after wave of black-red liquid surging up to the top of the coffins. Wasn't that the liquid which the corpse puppets poured into the coffins? At this moment, the black-red liquid was boiling in the coffins. From time to time, it entered Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she seemed to understand the reason for the coffin's shaking. It was as if, because of the boiling liquid in the coffin, even the coffin was shaking. What exactly was that liquid? How could it create such a strong boiling point? Even the coffin can shake. Furthermore, just now, it was the black and red liquid that weaved the flesh and blood of the living people hanging on the sharp hooks into a blood net. Yi Qing Luo had a rough guess in her heart. Perhaps this coffin and the living person with the sharp hook were just tools and arrays. But the real thing that gathered the array and cultivated the bloodthirsty yin art was the dark red liquid. The liquid was the true condensation of the cultivation technique. Using the blood web as a thread, it poured into Huang Wuyo's seal and became the crux of Huang Wuyo's strength. That's a medicine concocted by combining the profound jade heart of a newborn profound practitioner with a forbidden curse. Behind her, the man explained in a low voice, while Yi Qing Luo's attention was placed on the coffin. The distance between them was a little too close. When he said that, his voice was very soft, but it clearly entered Yi Qing Luo's ears. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her eyelashes trembled slightly. Chapter 5201. A Newborn Profound Cultivator's Profound Heart Jade. There was only one way to obtain a newborn profound cultivator's profound heart jade. That was dig out the heart and snatch the jade. This Huang Wuyo was probably really deranged. He didn't even let the babies off. Yi Qing Luo admitted that she wasn't considered as a good person. But she would absolutely not destroy her worldview, just for her own benefit without caring about anything else. Huang Wuyo, this kind of scum, was so scum that it angered even the gods. That black-red liquid was refined from that cultivator's profound heart jade. This obviously wasn't the first batch. And Huang Wuyo was able to grow stronger step by step to his current state. Apparently he had already started on this method. Such a huge project. How many cultivators had been sacrificed, how many babies, how many innocent lives had been lost? Yi Qing Luo's eyes started to fill with a cold malevolence and anger. Don't be angry. Chu Wuxian's eyes drooped slightly as he looked at the young lady in front of him who was emitting a cold intent. No matter how angry you are, acting rashly is of no use. I have an idea. When Yi Qing Luo said this, a cold glint flashed past her eyes. Her pink lips curled frivolously, but that arc was bone-chilling. I need your help. Chu Wuxian's thin lips curled slightly. What do you want me to do? Yi Qing Luo's gaze shot towards the violently shaking coffin. Looking at the blood web, the cold arc on her lips turned gloomier. I think it's very simple, but... She paused for a moment and her voice was clear. With your ability, are you able to hide from Huang Wuyo after he discovers you? You want me to attract his attention? Chu Wuxian asked, what do you want to do? Yi Qing Luo nodded, I have my own ways to deal with Huang Wuyo. Her curly long eyelashes fluttered like a butterfly's wings, concealing her eyes and the emotions on her face. She said calmly, even if I'm unable to stop Huang Wuyo from breaking the seal, I will definitely make him suffer a heavy injury. Chu Wuxian remained silent for a moment. That pair of deep black eyes congealed on that young lady's gorgeous face. That scorching, deep gaze. After a long time, he spat out a word, all right. His words fell Yi Qing Luo only felt a cool breeze caressing her face. Then, a red shadow flashed past. The man's figure had already disappeared before the young girl's eyes. In the blink of an eye, panicked footsteps and the sounds of fighting could be heard from the other end of the coffin. The surging mysterious Yin Qi suddenly surged forward. Looks like Huang Wuyo was also attracted by Zhu Wuxin. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted dangerously as her body moved swiftly and stepped into the coffin. Hundreds of coffins shook the ground. Yi Qing Luo felt as though her own body was swaying along with the vibration of the coffin. He stepped into the coffin. Yi Qing Luo could see the situation in the coffin. White bones could be vaguely seen in the boiling black and red liquid. Moreover, the bones piled up took up at least half of the entire coffin. This obviously showed exactly how many profounders were buried within these coffins. At a close distance, Yi Qing Luo also saw that on top of the boiling black-red liquid, there were many fine granules floating. The liquid was boiling too fast. Yi Qing Luo didn't really see it. She could roughly see those fine granules piling up one by one, forming a blood web which covered the entire cave. Chapter 5202. It was these things. She drew out all the blood water which was soaked in the black-red liquid in all the coffins. It was these things which gathered the energy from this sinister cultivation method onto Huang Wuyo's body. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed a faint cold glint. She could hear the sounds of fighting coming from not too far away. She didn't think any further. With a sweep of her fingers, she took out several exquisite porcelain bottles from the profound phoenix ring. She took a look at the porcelain bottles and opened the bottle cap. A rich medicinal fragrance assaulted her nostrils. Yi Qing Luo held the bottle and quickly poured it into the coffins. Her speed was very fast. As she took out the bottle from the profound phoenix ring, she moved around the coffins and poured the medicine in the bottle, no matter if it was in liquid or powder, into the coffins. But in an instant, she couldn't find the bottle anymore. Yi Qing Luo calculated silently in her heart. Out of those hundreds of coffins, she had poured about 50 to 60 of them. Looking at the empty porcelain bottles in the profound phoenix ring, Lin Fan felt a chill run down his spine. Yi Qing Luo's heart was in extreme pain. This was simply a huge loss. All the various poisons which she had refined and brought along with her just in case, were all poured into the coffins. Among them were many poisons which were refined from extremely precious poisonous herbs. If these poisons weren't able to poison Huang Wuyo to death, she would vomit blood. Yes, poison. From knowing the connection between heavenly yin blood-devouring technique and Huang Wuyo, she had an idea. If these blood webs were the source of Huang Wuyo's energy, she was unable to destroy this array. Then, what about contaminating the blood webs? The blood webs which had been corroded by the poison entered Huang Wuyo's seal and was absorbed by Huang Wuyo. All the poison entered Huang Wuyo's body. Could it affect Huang Wuyo's body? Even if it couldn't kill Huang Wuyo, at least it would make him lose the power to create trouble. After Yi Qing Luo finished pouring the poison, she speedily headed towards the direction of the battle. She wasn't too clear about Zhu Wuxian's ability. But Zhu Wuxian had created such a huge commotion. The minute Huang Wuyo made a move, it would be hard for him to escape. After she settled this, she had to remind Zhu Wuxian to avoid Huang Wuyo and wait for the poison to take effect. The dense and dark mysterious yin qi rolled like clouds, lingering in the air of the tunnel in waves, as if it could freeze the air. After smelling the qi of mysterious yin, the expressionless undead corpse puppets became increasingly frenzied as they attacked the invaders. The man's red robe fluttered in the wind. As his robes fluttered, he did not give the undead corpse puppets a chance to touch him. The corpse puppets let out low moans, which sounded like the roars of wild beasts, but also like strange howls. Anyone who heard it would feel their hairs stand on end. "Oh, isn't this young Master Chu?" "Ah, no, I should call him Pavilion Master Chu of the Red Clarity Pavilion now." A sinister and treacherous voice approached from afar. The corpses surrounding Zhu Wuxin instantly scattered to the sides. Zhu Wuxin stopped his attack, stood with his hands behind his back, and looked ahead expressionlessly. When the corpse puppets respectfully opened up a path, they saw a man dressed in black like a specter, taking steady steps as he walked over with an imposing manner. His footsteps were neither fast nor slow. That face looked warm, but it was polluted by the sinister emotions between his brows, looking like it was filled with viciousness, making it hard to get close. Chapter 5203. When Zhu Wuxian saw that man, he wasn't surprised at all. His eyes were calm as he met the other party's gaze calmly. One cold, one evil. Both their auras clashed against each other, as though it could overturn the entire tunnel. Pavilion Master Chu seems to be devoted to this seat's obedient daughter. The man's tone was filled with ridicule, with hints of malicious ridicule. For her, you gave up your own benefits and betrayed the collaboration with this seat. Now, for her, you dare to appear in front of this seat. The man sneered, "Do you really think this seat doesn't dare to kill you?" Secluded Palace. The mastermind. Zhu Wuxian looked at the man in front of him, that clear but vicious face. From his facial features, he could vaguely see Yi Qing Luo's shadow. Yi Qing Luo looked more like Feng Gu. But it wasn't hard to tell that the man in front of him was Yi Qing Luo's father. This was the first time Zhu Wuxian met the mastermind of Secluded Palace, who was Huang Wuyo himself. All along, the collaboration with Secluded Palace. The one who negotiated was mostly Gu Jinyu, that palace lord of Secluded Palace. At most, he had heard Huang Wuyo's voice and had a conversation with him. Upon hearing Huang Wuyo's voice, Zhu Wuxian recognized the other party. Huang Wuyo walked towards Zhu Wuxian and stood in front of him as his lips curled into a sinister arc. "Pavilion Master Chu, you suddenly lost contact and cancelled the collaboration between Red Clear Pavilion and Secluded Palace. These losses, Pavilion Master Chu has yet to compensate this seat. This seat has been looking for you for a very long time. I'd not expected you to send yourself to my doorstep." Huang Wuyo gave a low and deep laugh. That laughter was mixed with a sinister feeling which made one's hair stand on end. Zhu Wuxian allowed Huang Wuyo to laugh and allowed him to ridicule him. It was until Huang Wuyo stopped when he opened his mouth expressionlessly. "Yi Qing Luo, I must bring her away." Huang Wuyo laughed even more exaggeratedly. After laughing, he then opened his mouth to ridicule. "Pavilion Master Chu, since you like this seat's daughter so much, why not this seat help you make the decision and betroth my daughter to you? How about that?" The smile on his lips was filled with even more malice. Looking at Zhu Wuxin's emotional face, he continued, "Pavilion Master Chu, in any case, we are old friends. If the two of us join hands, let alone the immortal realm, even the other great realms will be ours. Since you like Luo, I will betroth Luo, to you. And you will take Luo, and live with me forever. Ambition and love are all there now. Isn't this perfect? You can't control Yi Qing Luo." Zhu Wuxian opened his mouth calmly. "She doesn't like me, and also hates your existence. A stubborn lady like Yi Qing Luo. How could it be as Huang Wuyo had said? Just because you say so." Most importantly, he was very clear on Yi Qing Luo's hatred towards Zhu Wuxian. Yi Qing Luo loved her mother deeply. Feng Jiyi's death was caused by Huang Wuyo. Under such hatred, Huang Wuyo was still attempting to control Yi Qing Luo's future. Not to mention what methods Huang Wuyo was intending to use to force Yi Qing Luo to submit. It was impossible for him to agree to it. If being overbearing was useful, he wouldn't have waited till now. He didn't want to see Yi Qing Luo's disappointed gaze towards him. He also didn't want to see Yi Qing Luo's eyes filled with hatred when she saw him. Chapter 5204. Heh, you're really a coward. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly. If you like her, then you should snatch her away and make her your own. Zhu Wuaxian ignored his ridicule as he replied expressionlessly, if you really understand feelings, then you wouldn't be so lonely. Zhu Wuaxian's words made Huang Wuyo's laughter stop abruptly. Huang Wuyo's face, which was filled with hostility, was now filled with a sinister and terrifying emotion. His gaze was sinister and filled with murderous intent. Who says I'm lonely? I was born to be the main god who stands above all the realms. And the path of the strong doesn't allow anyone else. Every single word and sentence was spat out clearly. As though he was saying it to Zhu Wuaxian. Or as though he was saying it to himself. Zhu Wuaxian looked at the raging Huang Wuyo calmly as there wasn't any fluctuation of emotions between his brows. His thin lips moved slightly as he spat out the words, if you're really not lonely, then there wouldn't be Gu Jingyu's appearance, and there wouldn't be Linglong's existence. Huang Wuyo's pupils constricted abruptly. As though his thoughts were seen through, his embarrassment turned into anger as his tail was stepped on as his face surfaced. He flicked his sleeves as a thick black profound yin qi surged towards Zhu Wuaxian's face like a surging wave. What do you know? I kept Gu Jingyu alive because he's useful. As for Linglong, that lass. Huang Wuyo's eyes were sinister and cold as it flashed past, I just want to test if my daughter is real. Only Yi Qing Luo fulfills my requirements. Zhu Wuaxian's sleeves fluttered as his blazing red robe seemed to be burning in flames. It also brought with it a chilling coldness. It easily separated Huang Wuyo's black yin energy from his body. Zhu Wuaxian's eyes were calm without any fluctuations. I'm not interested in what your motive is. His cold voice was like an emotionless killer. Following that, a sliver of determination surfaced in his pitch-black cold eyes. His thin lips moved, I'm different from you. I don't wish to see her getting hurt. The cold man's words were sincere. It was because the mastermind of the secluded palace was Yi Qing Luo's father. Otherwise, Zhu Wuaxian wouldn't have the patience to bother about him. Of course, there was another important point. He had to fight for time for Yi Qing Luo. Since Pavilion Master Chu doesn't appreciate my kind intentions, then don't blame me for disregarding our past cooperation. Huang Wuyo's originally complacent and sinister mood had been easily crushed by Zhu Wuxin, leaving only a belly full of rage. As he waved his palm, the profound yin qi gathered from all directions. The entire underground passage began to shake violently. Zhu Wuxin was just about to wave his sleeves to block Huang Wuyo's attack. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a young girl who was quietly approaching him. His deep eyes dimmed slightly. Chapter 5205. Almost greedily staring at the young lady's devastatingly beautiful face which was just inches away from him. Perhaps it was because his gaze was too scorching. After the young lady helped him to stand firm, she retracted her hand. Zhu Wuaxian's thin lips twitched as the expression on his face was as cold as water, I'm fine. Although that was the case. But when he spoke, his tone was slightly heavy with a slight panting, as though he was suppressing some kind of emotion. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she stared at Zhu Wuaxian's grave and stern face, totally unable to see any expression on it. Pausing for a moment. Then her brows creased as she placed her hand on his body once again, don't force yourself. Feeling the girl's warm and soft hand on his arm, he felt a chill run down his spine. Although it was just a simple touch. Zhu Wuxian's heart seemed to be covered by something soft. His thin lips curled into an arc as he slightly leaned his weight on Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter as she took a glance at the man who was leaning on her, his breathing slightly congealed. Her frown wasn't because Zhu Wuxian was leaning too close. But Zhu Wuxian's injury was obviously not light. If it was usual times, based on Zhu Wuxian's temperament, he would rather forcefully hold on than to let her discover it. Unless he couldn't hold on any longer. Huang Wuyo's earlier strike looked like it wasn't light. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed coldly as she looked at Huang Wuyo, who was surrounded by the profound yin qi and was entangled by the thick black fog. She didn't discover anything. Leaning on her shoulder, that cold and emotionless man's lips curled slightly as he revealed a smile. On one side, he slowly got closer to the young lady. "My obedient daughter, so you're hiding here. You've made me look for you." When Huang Wuyo saw Yiqing Luo, his eyes lit up with a faint flame. Under the wrapping of this profound yin qi, like a poisonous snake, it coiled around Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo gazed at Huang Wuyo as she scoffed, "You can't even find anyone in your territory. Looks like, as a spiritual consciousness, you're very weak." The young lady's tone was filled with ridicule. The corners of her eyes lifted, revealing a cold and mocking arc. Huang Wuyo's face darkened as he launched an attack with his palm. "My dear daughter, I will let you know the price of angering me." The whirlwind, carrying with it a majestic and thick mysterious yin qi, attacked head-on. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers moved slightly as her fingertips flicked. Bang, bang, bang. A streak of blazing red glow followed the arc of Yiqing Luo's fingertip as it swept past. Wave after wave of explosions resounded throughout the tunnel, like the rumbling of thunder. The tunnel trembled again. Yiqing Luo supported Zhu Wuxian as they took 2 steps back. She glanced sideways at Zhu Wuxian's cold and pale face and asked in a low voice, "Can you still move?" "I'm fine." Zhu Wuxian shook his head gently, and his tone was very soft. But with that pale face, it didn't look like he was fine. Yiqing Luo took a look at the raging Huang Wuyo and then looked at Zhu Wuxian. His brain was spinning rapidly, trying to think of a way. Zhu Wuxian's palm, which was on the young lady's wrist, tightened his grip. He coughed lightly, with a weak posture. "Your plan, has it failed?" "I don't know." Yiqing Luo shook her head, "But now, you're injured, so we can't stay here. We must think of a way to avoid Huang Wuyo." Zhu Wuxian's thin lips moved, as though he was thinking of something. But finally, he pursed his lips as he slowly got up from leaning on Yiqing Luo. "I'm really fine, don't worry about me." Chapter 5206. Now isn't the time to be stubborn. After all, you got injured because of me, so how can I not care about you? Yiqing Luo held onto Zhu Wuxian's hand once again. Her tone didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. Her pair of charming eyes looked towards Huang Wuyo's direction vigilantly. Because of that, she didn't notice the man beside her gradually darkening expression because of her words. Not abandoning him meant that in her heart, she still cared about him. But this kind of care was merely based on the fact that he got injured because of her. What he wanted was Yiqing Luo's sincerity. If it was anyone else, would she treat him so coldly? The relationship between the two of you seems to be not bad. Huang Wuyo's voice broke the silence between the both of them once again. His sinister voice was filled with malice. As though he was mocking, yet as though he was scheming something. "Pavilion Master Chu, this obedient daughter of mine has deep feelings for you, isn't it? Earlier my suggestion, why don't you reconsider?" Huang Wuyo laughed softly. "If Pavilion Master Chu agrees to it, I believe I will absolutely not disappoint you." His laughter was sinister and treacherous. It made one's hair stand on end just from hearing it. Zhu Wuxian's expression turned cold as his eyes turned icy cold, like a sharp blade piercing over. Before he could open his mouth, the young lady had already pressed down on his shoulder lightly. Following that, her clear and cold voice rang, "Huang Wuyo, your move to sow discord is very low level." She tilted her head as her eyes were filled with ridicule towards Huang Wuyo, indeed someone who had been sealed for thousands of years. Until now. Still playing this kind of low-level and senseless tricks. Huang Wuyo said this to Zhu Wuxian in front of her. Wasn't he trying to provoke her suspicions towards Zhu Wuxian? Once she started to suspect Zhu Wuxian, then in this tunnel, she would be alone. By then, it would be much easier to deal with her. As for Zhu Wuxian, after being suspected by her, he could only choose to agree to Huang Wuyo's deal and collaboration. That's a good plan. However, this also proved one thing: Huang Wuyo seemed to have a little fear towards Zhu Wuxian. Otherwise, with Huang Wuyo's arrogant and conceited personality, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. How could he play such a trick to sow discord? Was he trying to make her lose Zhu Wuxian? As expected of my daughter. You are indeed smart. Huang Wuyo did not show any embarrassment at being exposed. Instead, he laughed out loud. That sinister laughter inexplicably made people feel uncomfortable all over. His venomous snake-like gaze stared deeply at Yiqing Luo as he grinned maliciously. The two of you have such a strong relationship, this seat naturally wants the both of you to stay by this seat's side. He slowly raised his arms. The color of the surging mysterious yin qi became darker and darker. Immediately after, a violent hurricane was stirred up in all directions. The whistling was so sharp that it seemed like it could engulf a person. In the land of the hurricane, the thick black fog gathered into layers and layers. It formed a large black fog. It gathered above Huang Wuyo's head. Huang Wuyo's arms were raised extremely high as his black robe swayed along with his energy, as his jet black hair danced wildly. His power has become stronger again. Zhu Wuxian sensed that Huang Wuyo's aura was becoming stronger bit by bit. His expression changed slightly as he clasped the young lady's wrist. Chapter 5207. He should have used the yin-devouring blood technique to inject energy into his body. Zhu Wuxian pulled her behind him. "Leave first, I'll think of a way to stop him." Zhu Wuxian was about to move when he was stopped by the young lady. Yiqing Luo shook her head at him as her narrow eyes squinted slightly, staring at Huang Wuyo's direction. "Don't stop him, let's take this chance to leave first." Huang Wuyo's original body had absorbed all sorts of poisonous medicinal liquid. This piece of soul consciousness which belonged to Huang Wuyo would also be affected. The more Huang Wuyo absorbed, the more the poison invaded. She couldn't stop him. But Yiqing Luo didn't dare to guarantee that her guess was correct. So while Huang Wuyo was still absorbing the energy from the yin-devouring blood technique, she and Zhu Wuxian took the opportunity to leave Huang Wuyo's line of sight and make a decision based on the situation. The two of them prepared to leave quietly. Huang Wuyo's gaze was sharp as he sneered towards the direction of the two and shot out a burst of profound yin qi, trying to escape. The two words had just left his mouth. Huang Wuyo was suspended in midair as his body, which was absorbing the energy, suddenly fell downwards. A dong sound was heard. His soul consciousness was in human form, so when it fell onto the ground, it gave off a huge sound of a heavy object landing on the ground. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as her pink lips curved slightly. Success. She pulled Zhu Wuxian to a halt as she turned her head back. She saw Huang Wuyo half kneeling on the ground with his back bent. One hand was pressed on his knee while the other was pressed on the ground. Probably sensing the two's gaze, Huang Wuyo suddenly raised his head as he stared furiously at Yi Qing Luo. "You, what did you do to me?" he bellowed furiously. He was panting heavily and sweating profusely. That body which was formed from his soul consciousness was vaguely distorted in the profound yin qi. It dissipated and gathered again and again. As though something was twisting inside his body. As though it was going to tear his body apart and tear him into pieces. His soul consciousness became fainter and fainter. As though it was going to be annihilated any time. Yi Qing Luo sized Huang Wuyo up to confirm if he was pretending on purpose. Then, she nudged Zhu Wuxin. "Isn't his aura very messy now?" Zhu Wuxin's strength was above hers. His ability to sense Huang Wuyo's aura was also more accurate than hers. Zhu Wuxin closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while. Finally, he nodded slightly. "Yes." He paused and looked at Huang Wuyo, but his words were directed at Yi Qing Luo. "What did you do to him?" Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she looked at Huang Wuyo's gradually turning greenish-black lips and that face which was gradually turning greenish-black. Her pink lips curled up slightly. "It seems that my guess is correct." Chapter 5208. Huang Wuyo's breathing became heavier. The excruciating pain in his body felt like he was being sliced into pieces. Perhaps it was because he was poisoned or because he was too angry, but his complexion was ashen. Finally, he gave Yi Qing Luo a cold stare. Then, he punched the ground. The tens of thousands of hurricanes and mysterious yin qi intertwined, wrapping around Huang Wuyo's entire body. Whoosh! He fled into the distance. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips rose as she held onto Zhu Wuxian's arm. "Go, chase after them." Both of them were extremely fast. At this critical juncture, Yi Qing Luo didn't hide the fact that she knew the secret of teleportation. Pulling Zhu Wuxin along, he executed the instant movement secret technique and quickly followed behind Huang Wuyo. Zhu Wuxin seemed to have known long ago, or perhaps he did not understand the teleportation secret technique. While he was being pulled by Yi Qing Luo, all kinds of teleportation. He did not show the slightest hint of surprise. Yi Qing Luo was leaning towards the former. The teleportation secret art was an ancient secret art. To protect the secrets of the Azure Dew Bracelet and the Purgatory Pagoda. She basically wouldn't use it in front of outsiders. Moreover, every time he was discovered using it, he would feel a chill down his spine. It would cause a great backlash from the other party. Given Zhu Wuxin's status and identity, it was impossible for him not to have heard of the teleportation secret technique. He wasn't surprised, probably because he already knew. Of course, that was not the point. Yi Qing Luo pulled Zhu Wuxian, turning left and right, jumping up and down. He stared at Huang Wuyo the entire way. Then, the mysterious yin qi that was wrapped around Huang Wuyo suddenly crashed into a huge stone door and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zhu Wuxin stretched out his hand and grabbed Yi Qing Luo's arm. "Don't go over, there's an array." Yi Qing Luo had already stopped her blink movement when Huang Wuyo disappeared from the stone door in front. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the stone door in front of her. The dense mysterious yin qi in the air was trying to seep into their bodies bit by bit. However, it was blocked by an invisible ray of profound light. Yi Qing Luo was very sensitive to the profound yin qi. It was almost certain. Behind the stone door. That was where Huang Wuyo's main body was. In other words, this is the place. It was where Huang Wuyo was sealed. She hooked her lower lip. When she poisoned him, she had already guessed that this would happen. Once the poison flared up, Huang Wuyo's divine sense would naturally return to his body. As for Huang Wuyo's physical body, it should have been eroded even more by the poison. Hence, he could no longer control his spiritual consciousness. Therefore, his divine sense would be returned to his body. She would use this opportunity to find the location of Huang Wuyo's seal. At this time, Huang Wuyo was being corroded by dozens of poisons. All she had to do was find a way to enter the formation. The chances of sealing Huang Wuyo would be even higher. Of course, how was he supposed to break this formation? How long can his situation last? Zhu Wuxin glanced sideways and asked. Yiqing Luo shook her head. I'm not sure, it depends on how strong Huang Wuyo is. Zhu Wuxin slightly lowered his eyes and did not speak again. What's wrong? You're worried that Huang Wuyo's weak period is very short. Yiqing Luo sensed that Zhu Wuxian's emotions weren't quite right as she raised her eyes to look at him. The man's icy cold eyes were surging with emotions, flowing with a complicated glint which Yiqing Luo couldn't understand. Yiqing Luo was just about to open her mouth. Suddenly, the entire tunnel started to shake. A burst of vigorous and powerful energy with a large number of people suddenly closed in. A loud bam was heard. Yiqing Luo felt the ground shaking violently. At the next instant, her waist tightened as she was pulled by Zhu Wuxian. With a leap, she avoided the surging profound rays. Chapter 5209. After Yiqing Luo steadied herself, she immediately stretched out her hand and pushed Zhu Wuxian away, as she looked towards the direction of the attack. In the spacious tunnel, about 20 teams suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell directly onto the leader of the team, Ji Rao. It was a woman, dressed in a long, moon-white dress, with an ethereal air about her. The woman's face was exquisite and could be considered a peerless beauty. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a cold glint and a bit of complacency. There was a feeling of looking down at Yiqing Luo from a higher position. That kind of feeling of being high above. The lady's line of sight fell onto Yiqing Luo and slowly fell onto the red-robed man behind her. Her red lips curled up, revealing a malicious smile. Just as he was about to say something, suddenly, her smile froze, and her expression darkened as she stared at Zhu Wuxin. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Yiqing Luo frowned as she turned her head towards Zhu Wuxian. The man's expression was calm, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. She shifted her gaze to the woman again. He was still thinking about the relationship between Zhu Wuxin and Nu Rao. Hearing that woman's ridiculing tone, with a hint of disdain in her laughter, Feng Qing Luo, I thought you were really loyal to the Overlord. Taking advantage of the fact that His Majesty isn't here, you're here flirting with other women. She sneered. If the Overlord knew that you were meeting with a man in such a place, would the Overlord still love you so much? The woman's voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. However, it was not difficult to hear the jealousy in her tone. Clear dove, Yiqing Luo's pink lips moved slightly as she called out the woman's name. Whether Xian will still pamper me, I don't know. Her smile grew even wider as she met the woman's provocative gaze and said word by word, but I know that you absolutely cannot enter Xian's eyes. Who else could it be other than Qinggu? This clear pigeon was the one which Yiqing Luo had snuck into the Palace of Gloom's secret underground chamber from the Jiang family's side when she was in God Realm. There, he met the woman. It seemed like his position in the Palace of Gloomy Darkness was not low. Most importantly, she had ulterior motives for Dmo Xian. A so-called princess who belonged to an unknown force. She remembered, when he was in the Palace of Darkness. She had poisoned the pigeon. Even Qing Ji's secret forces could not cure the poison. How could he be alive and kicking and run all the way here? Sure enough, a scourge lives for 1,000 years. Yiqing Luo sized up those people behind Qinggu with a gaze that was sizing them up. The newcomers all had an obvious totem on their bodies. They were the people that Qinggu had brought with her. They were not people from the Palace of Darkness, but people who belonged to her faction. Clear pigeon. How did he get here? What a coincidence. Just as she found the place where Huang Wuyo was sealed, he appeared with his men. Yi Qing Luo had a vague guess in her heart. Qing Ji's furious voice rang, Feng Qing Luo, the current you is suffering from both sides. Are you sure you want to anger this princess? When the words, this princess, came out of her mouth, Qing Ji's body suddenly released a strong pressure. That condescending and disdainful stance seemed to have already trampled Yi Qing Luo under his feet. Why are you here? Yi Qing Luo's expression was indifferent, that pair of long and narrow eyes were calm without any fluctuations. Of course, she didn't expect Qing Gu to answer her directly. She only wanted to find out some information from Qing Ji's mouth. Chapter 52:10. Qing Gu gave a gentle smile, but the jealousy in her eyes was unconcealable. The reason why I am here is naturally to follow you. Her tone was complacent, but the way she looked at Yi Qing Luo was filled with hatred. Why do you think I am staying in the secluded palace? Why do you think the overlord is in the secluded palace? No matter what, it's to find the real resting place of the mastermind of the secluded palace. Qing Ji's red lips curled up complacently, as she looked at Yi Qing Luo's gaze, as though she was looking at a stray dog. Look at you, you've painstakingly come to the territory behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness and finally managed to get close to the person behind the scenes. But now, everything belongs to me. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased slightly as she listened to Qing Ji's words. Her heart had an ominous premonition. She had not opened her mouth. Qing Gu had already raised her cold and complacent smile as she interrupted her icily. You want to ask me, what do I want to do after finding the mastermind of the secluded palace, right? Her fingertips gently lifted a strand of hair which was hanging on her shoulder. That exquisite and beautiful face curled into a beautiful smile. But under that smile was a deep, vicious aura which made one shudder. I am from the Illusory clan. Illusory clan. Yi Qing Luo was dumbstruck. This was the first time she heard of this clan. Chu Wuaxian's brows drooped slightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo calmly. The Illusory clan was a hidden clan 10,000 years ago, specializing in illusory arts and divination. Divination. Yi Qing Luo's brows twitched. Chu Wuaxian continued, and 10,000 years ago, the mastermind of the secluded palace was the revered carefree Huang Wuyo. In an attempt to find out the meaning, to fight with the Tao, to dominate all living things. Hence, revered carefree went to look for the Illusory clan. Indeed. Yi Qing Luo's guess was settled as her brows creased slightly. Chu Wuaxian continued, the Illusory clan originally predicted the future and changed their fate, so they had to pay the same price. No one in the Illusory clan could live past 35 years old. Because of this, the Illusion tribe rarely do things like predicting the future and changing fate. When revered carefree sought out the Illusory tribe, naturally, he was rejected by them. When Zhu Wuaxian mentioned the history of the Illusion race, Qing Ji's expression darkened. There was no longer any pride or jealousy. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips, her voice was very low, and after the rejection. How could the high and mighty revered carefree allow someone to reject him? Zhu Wuxin's tone was still icy cold, but there was a hint of mockery in it. Yi Qing Luo subconsciously looked towards Zhu Wuaxian. However, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on the man's grave and stern face. His face was cold and emotionless. However, human nature is inferior. With an expressionless face, Zhu Wuaxian continued, in this world, there are no absolute good people. A portion of the Illusory clan was unwilling to do such an unreasonable thing for revered carefree, but there were also a portion of the Illusory clan who, under the enticement of revered carefree, exposed their own wild ambitions. Regarding the current God Emperor's daughter, is the chosen one, the Phoenix Lady who descended, after such a prophecy appeared. All the tragedies began. Chapter 52:11. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly. This was also her mother's tragedy. Her appearance. It was all because of this prophecy. As for Huang Wuyo, he had plotted so much. Just for this prophecy. Which? Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled into a cold arc as the ridicule in her eyes deepened. She should laugh at herself for being such a sacred and noble existence in the prophecy. Or should she laugh at Huang Wuyo? For this so-called prophecy, he sacrificed. But revered Wuyu didn't let the illusory clan off just because he knew about the prophecy. Zhu Wuaxian's clear voice was heard again, after those ambitious people from the illusory clan tried their best to help him, just to obtain a way to live forever. Zhu Wuaxian paused. Qing Ji's gentle voice continued, in order to protect this prophecy, only he alone knew about it, so he exterminated the illusory clan. This was indeed something that Huang Wuyo would do. The illusory clan lived. This prophecy would be known by others one day. Once the prophecy was known, the Emperor of God would be watched by countless people. How could he possibly tolerate any deviation in his plans? So the best way was kill anyone other than him who knew about this prophecy. Which was to exterminate the illusory clan. Qing Ji's eyes were burning with a raging flame. Her fingers clenched tightly as she looked at Yi Qing Luo with hatred and anger. I am from the illusory clan. Our illusory tribe was annihilated because of your father. 10,000 years ago. When Huang Wuyo's clan was exterminated, the princess of the illusory clan had to pay respects to their ancestors and had to guard the grave for 3 months. Along with them were dozens of followers from the illusory clan. And it was this batch of people. They became the last bloodline of the illusory clan. The princess used the illusory clan's ability to find out about this matter. She swore to find Huang Wuyo and seek revenge for the illusory clan. After 10,000 years, the people from the illusory clan now, only them were left. And most of them were no longer pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Even the current princess of the illusory clan, Qing Gu, was not pure bloodline of the illusory clan. Listening to everything about the illusory clan, Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. She lifted her eyelids and looked at Qing Gu. Firstly, that man, although he is my biological father, he is also my enemy. Secondly, although Huang Wuyo played a major role in the extermination of the illusion clan, part of the reason was that the ancestors of the illusion clan made a wrong move due to their obsession with longevity. She paused, her long and narrow eyes slightly raised. From your point of view, you think that it's Huang Wuyo's fault, my mother's fault, and mine. However, from my point of view, everything is the fault of the illusory race. Qing Ji's face turned ashen and her delicate face contorted. Our illusion tribe was annihilated by revered Wuyu. Is this still our fault? Then, because of a prophecy from your illusion tribe, my mother was deceived by Huang Wuyo. In the end, for the sake of the world, she used her life to seal him. Isn't this all because of your illusory tribe? There was no right or wrong in this matter. It just depended on whose point of view one was standing on. Yi Qing Luo's counter-question made Qing Ji's mouth move, but she couldn't spit out a single word of rebuttal. Her fists clenched even tighter as each of her fingers started to turn pale. Chapter 52:12. Yi Qing Luo didn't pursue this topic any further. This answer was something that she would never be able to get. She pursed her lips and looked at Qing Gu faintly. From the looks of it, our goal is the same. Who has the same goal as you? Qing Ji's expression was cold as her exquisite brows were filled with disgust. I don't intend to let you seal him. What do you mean? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. Qing Gu snorted lightly as her fingertips played with her hair. Didn't Revered Wu want to complete the prophecy from 10,000 years ago and get this, so he caused the death of our illusory clan? Her red lips curled sinisterly. If he wants to complete it, then I shall grant him his wish. But Qing Ji's face was distorted from laughter. I want to be above him and become his master. Listening to Qing Ji's words, Yi Qing Luo felt that she had been driven crazy. To think that he could not think straight and wanted to dominate Huang Wuyo. Did Huang Wuyo look like that kind of person who could be manipulated by others? Don't think that I am crazy. Qing Gu raised her chin as she gave an unusually strange smile. I am after all the princess of the illusory clan and the one with the highest innate talent. Her vision looked towards the stone cave where Huang Wuyo was sealed. As long as he still has the ambition to break the seal, I will use the illusory clan's illusory arts to control him. Qing Gu said as she looked at Yi Qing Luo complacently. Get up, for me and my clansmen to be able to come here and gain the absolute advantage, it's all thanks to you. If I am able to succeed, I will definitely thank you properly and strive for. Her voice was low and cold. I'll leave your corpse intact. Looking at Qing Ji's crazed and twisted expression, Yi Qing Luo's face didn't show any signs of anger. Her expression was like water as she looked at Qing Gu indifferently. There wasn't much fluctuation of emotions in her long and narrow eyes. Until Qing Ji's complacent and savage laughter stopped. Yi Qing Luo's eyelids moved slightly as she glanced sideways at the man in red who had been silent all this while. In her eyes, the man's cold and handsome face was reflected. The contours of the side of his face seemed to be meticulously sculpted. The lines were cold and hard, and they emitted a coldness that made one's breath stop. Yi Qing Luo's curly long eyelashes were like butterfly wings gently fanning. As she looked around, he could not see the emotions in her eyes. He only felt that the girl's pink lips were slightly curved, as if she was smiling, but also as if she was mocking him. The girl's gaze was too stubborn. He had no intention of hiding it at all. Being stared at, Chu Wuxin's grave and stern face turned slightly red. He looked up and met the girl's gaze. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the girl's cold voice call out his name, Zhu Wuxin. The girl's voice was cold and emotionless. But not gambling gave Zhu Wuxin a very heavy pressure. Immediately afterward, the young lady's clear voice continued, You agree with Sister Qing Pigeon's actions, right? Her question was flat and emotionless. It sounded like a casual conversation. But in Zhu Wuxin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder exploding beside his ears. But he was only stunned for a moment. He calmly raised his eyes as his chilly gaze met with hers. When their eyes met, both parties had no intention to avoid each other. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up as she didn't bother about Zhu Wuxin's act, as she tilted her head slightly and propped her chin up. Chapter 52:13. I seem to have asked a unnecessary question. She laughed softly. For the illusory clan to be able to appear here, it means that we already know the answer. She smiled as her gaze was fixed on Zhu Wuxin. Since you agree with Sister Qing Ji's way of doing things, then I have nothing else to say. Zhu Wuxin's face was facing Yi Qing Luo. That pair of emotionless icy cold black eyes were surging with a silent wave. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to bother about him. She didn't have any intention to ask any further. Instead, she used her actions to express her stand. She slowly moved her feet away from Zhu Wuxin's side. She stood in between Zhu Wuxin and Qing Gu as she looked left and right. Then her lips curled as her smile was calm. My motive is to completely seal Huang Wuyu here, or kill him. There was not the slightest fluctuation in her words. As though she was talking about something extremely normal. Since our motives are different, then It's obvious that we are enemies. The young lady's gaze was as calm as water as it met with Zhu Wu Axayan. Indeed, between us, we are ultimately enemies. Yi Qing Luo. Zhu Wu Axayan's tone was slightly anxious as he called out her name. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled as she raised her hand to stop Zhu Wu Axayan's words. I understand and I don't feel that you've made the wrong choice. She took a look at Zhu Wu Axayan and then at Qing Gu. After all, you're also from the illusory clan. Zhu Wu Axayan's eyelashes fluttered as his thin lips moved. In the end, he didn't reject her. But Qing Ji's complacent smile froze as she took a swift glance at Zhu Wu Axayan and immediately frowned. Since when is he from the illusory clan? What's with your beard coat? Isn't it? Yi Qing Luo's smile became even wider as her long and narrow eyes were frivolous as she looked at Zhu Wu Axayan. Are you? Zhu Wu Axayan's pupils contracted as the surging emotions in his eyes were about to spew out. Finally, his thin lips moved as he spat out a word, yes. Yi Qing Luo smiled. But that smile was filled with ridicule. Young matriarch. Seeing that Zhu Wu Axayan had actually admitted his identity, Qing Pigeon anxiously cried out. Hearing Qing Ji's greeting, Yi Qing Luo's smile deepened. It seemed that Zhu Wuxin's status in the illusion race was not low. For the princess of the illusion clan to call him young master, Zhu Wuxin lifted his eyelids and looked coldly at Qing Gu. That gaze sent a chill down Qing Ji's spine. She swallowed the words she was about to say. Zhu Wu Axayan's eyes calmly shifted onto Yi Qing Luo. When his eyes met with Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes, his gaze was slightly evasive. But in the end, he still met Yi Qing Luo's gaze firmly. He pursed his thin lips and said in a cold voice, I didn't want to hide it from you. Indeed. Yi Qing Luo smiled. When you took the initiative to talk about the Mirage clan's past, it was already indirectly telling me your identity. 10,000 years ago, the illusion clan was a hidden family. What was a hidden family? That was a clan that was hidden from the world, a clan that only existed in rumors or no rumors at all. There were details about how Huang Wuyo had sought out the illusion tribe for a divination and how he had given a prophecy. Other than the people of the illusion race, how could anyone else know? Zhu Wu Axayan took the initiative to mention about the history of the illusion clan. He was totally telling her that he was someone from the illusion clan. Yi Qing Luo linked everything together. He could roughly guess what was going on. Chapter 52:14. Zhu Wuxin looked at the mocking smile on the young girl's face. His cold and stern face became somewhat gloomy. He seemed to be hesitating about something. In the end, he wanted to say something but stopped. Out of the thousands of words he wanted to say, he could only say one sentence. It was a very light and somewhat untenable refutation. I'm worried about you, it's true. Yi Qing Luo nodded emotionlessly. I know. She didn't deny that Zhu Wu Axayan was worried about her. She also didn't deny that Zhu Wu Axayan didn't want her to be cared for. And absolutely believed it. Even if it wasn't because of the illusory clan. When Zhu Wu Axayan saw her in danger, he would follow her without any hesitation, stepping into this dangerous place. But there was a motive after all. These so-called concern and worry. They were no longer that pure. Perhaps, this was the difference between Zhu Wu Axayan and Dmo Xian. The former had too many things on him. No matter what he did, any decision he made, there would definitely be a motive behind it. No matter what the original intention was, no matter if he had calculated or prepared for this decision. That was ultimately not pure. The latter was wholeheartedly, only for her. Even for her, he would not hesitate to destroy the world. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyelids, avoiding Zhu Wu Axayan's surging black pupils. Now, let's rely on our own abilities. What else was Zhu Wuxian thinking about? Qinggu couldn't hold it in any longer. Young lord, don't forget about the blood feud between our illusory clan and revered carefree. Don't forget about the country's hatred and family feud because of a woman. She clenched her fists tightly, as her eyes were filled with malevolent jealousy. Based on what? Based on what Feng Qing Luo, that woman, could have the overlord's boundless love, and young lord's love? Based on what, all the men revolved around her. Even if she was the descendant of the previous divine emperor, the new divine phoenix. Based on the overlord and young lord status. It was impossible for them to pay attention to these. Qinggu was jealous and twisted, as her eyes were filled with a thick black mist. Shut up. A cold and indifferent voice interrupted Qing Ji's rage and hatred. She suddenly met Zhu Wuxian's eyes. She shuddered when she was stared at by those deep, dark, and frosty eyes. Zhu Wuxian said indifferently, "This young lord's matters are not for you to criticize. It's... Qinggu has crossed the line." Qing Ji's face paled as she knelt down. The dignity of a princess just now had vanished in an instant. Yi Qing Luo was a little curious. Logically speaking, the princess of the illusion clan should be the person with the highest status in the illusion clan. Young Master Zhu Wuxian, what was going on? After Zhu Wuxian warned the pigeon, he looked towards Yi Qing Luo. His cold and stern face softened a little. His deep black pupils, which were fixated on Yi Qing Luo, were also tainted with a peculiar glint. "I said, I won't do anything to hurt you. I also won't share your burden." His voice was a little soft, so soft that only the two of them could hear him. His fingers curled up slightly, as his fiery red robe floated with the wind, "But, I must take revenge for the illusion clan. I understand you very well." Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly. Her emotions were indifferent, unable to tell whether she was happy or angry. She said very calmly, "This is just like how my mother used her life to seal Huang Wuyo, and used her life in exchange for mine. To avenge my mother's death, I wonder how Huang Wuyo will deal with me once the seal on Huang Wuyo is released." Chapter 52:15. Even if it's to fulfill my mother's dying wish, I will absolutely not allow any of you to undo Huang Wuyo's seal. As she said that pair of narrow eyes flashed past a resolute and sharp cold glint. "So, you want to undo Huang Wuyo's seal?" She kept her smile as her fingertips moved slightly and an enchanting red glow emerged from the glower flame fan. She placed the glower flame fan horizontally in front of her as she said word by word, "Then, you have to get past me first." Zhu Wuxian's body trembled slightly. His black eyes, which were like surging waves, looked deeply at the young girl. His thin lips moved slightly. "You really want to force me to make a choice?" If one listened carefully, one would be able to hear the trembling in his voice. Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't have much change. As compared to Zhu Wuxian's inner conflict, Yi Qing Luo appeared very calm. "I'm not forcing you to make a choice. But right from the start, our fate has already been decided." Yi Qing Luo replied calmly, "The feud between the country and family is more important than feelings." Zhu Wuxian went silent. After some time, he scoffed as his thin lips curled into a ridiculing arc, "You're really considerate." Zhu Wuxian couldn't tell what he was feeling. Yi Qing Luo's words were standing on his side, trying her best to soothe the uneasiness in his heart. Just hope. Was he going to be enemies with her? Just hope. The both of them would never be able to stand on the same parallel line. Their fate. Were they really destined to be enemies? Zhu Wuxian stared deeply at the young lady's gorgeous face as his 5 fingers by his side clenched into a fist. She didn't open her mouth to interrupt Zhu Wuxian's deep thoughts. Zhu Wuxian was carrying too much on his shoulders. On one side was his stubborn feelings. On the other side was his clan's hatred. No matter how unwilling she was to admit it. Huang Wuyo was her father, that was a fact. To Zhu Wu Axan, she was considered as the daughter of his enemy. It wasn't that she wanted to make any decision for Zhu Wu Axan. It wasn't that she wanted to force Zhu Wu Axan to make a choice. But even if Zhu Wu Axan's stubborn feelings towards her had surpassed the feud between the country and family. But Yiqing Luo was certain. Every day, he would live in remorse and self-blame for the illusion clan. One day, he would blame her. Moreover, she could not respond to Zhu Wu Axan's feelings. It was better to make a choice at this moment. Feelings were secondary. The most important thing was to bear the responsibility that he truly shouldered. Pushing Zhu Wu Axan to become her enemy could perhaps be said to be extremely stupid. He was looking for trouble for himself. But, in her heart, Zhu Wu Axan could be considered a friend that she acknowledged. If not for the joke of fate between them, if not for Zhu Wuxin's obsession with her, perhaps they could also become close friends. However, there was no maybe in everything. Young master. Qing Ji's anxious voice broke the tension between the two of them. We need to break this formation as soon as possible and cast the illusion curse on revered Carefree. After being warned by Zhu Wuxin just now, Qing Gu spoke very carefully. Young master, don't forget why we're here. This is our illusory tribe's only chance. He had missed this one. The illusory tribe's blood feud could no longer be appeased. Zhu Wu Axan clenched his fists tightly as the muscles on his body tensed up. Young master, I absolutely cannot watch you regret in the future. A cold and hard voice rang from the illusory tribe's group. She couldn't tell if she was relieved or if she felt her heart tighten. His face, which was as cold as cast, did not show the slightest emotion. A man who was never good at expressing his emotions. At this moment, the tumbling thoughts in his heart had already made his mind a mess, and he had no energy to think. His cold black eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He watched as the girl's skirt fluttered in the air like a peach blossom. They watched as the girl slowly closed the glowing flame fan and stood at the entrance of the cave, looking at them expressionlessly. There was not a hint of reluctance in her long and narrow eyes. That woman was really heartless. Zhu Wu Axan slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo. The flame robe fluttered as he walked. He walked step by step until he was right in front of Yiqing Luo. The group of people from the illusion clan looked at Zhu Wu Axan anxiously. They totally couldn't guess what their young master wanted to do. Chapter 52:17. Yiqing Luo looked at Zhu Wu Axan expressionlessly as he walked towards her. After that, she watched him standing in front of her. Her pink lips rose. Young patriarch Zhu, are you going to take action personally? Yiqing Luo, I really don't want to become like this with you. His voice was filled with sorrow. Yiqing Luo smiled. Our fate is like this. You have your responsibilities and I have mine. She said it in an open-minded manner. As though she had long expected this ending. Zhu Wu Axan's gaze stared deeply at her as he slowly shook his head. No. If it was Dmo Xian, you definitely wouldn't be so calm. If it was Dmo Xian. How could Yiqing Luo possibly stand on the opposite side of Dmo Xian? If it was Dmo Xian. How could Yiqing Luo possibly have such an indifferent attitude? After Chu Wuxin said these words, Chu Wuxin's eyes widened. That calm and indifferent young lady's eyes rippled slightly. The smile on her lips vanished as she met Zhu Wu Axan's gaze. Her look made Zhu Wu Axan lower his eyes as he burst out laughing. Indeed so. Yes. His words had just opened his mouth. On that side, a young lady's clear voice was heard. Yiqing Luo met Zhu Wuxian's gaze and had no intention to avoid it. If it was Xian, standing in your position, I indeed cannot do it. To let him choose national hatred and family enmity. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she smiled calmly. Call me selfish or heartless, to me. He is mine, so he should be with me. Of course, she could not possibly force Dmo Xian to give up the responsibility he was carrying for her. She would try her best to think of a compromise. When Zhu Wuxian heard that, a disappointed look flashed past his eyes. His thin lips twitched in self-ridicule. He obviously knew the outcome long ago, but he had to hear it from Yiqing Luo's own mouth. But so what if he heard it from her own mouth? He still wasn't able to give up. Zhu Wuxian. The young lady opposite him had a clear voice and her tone was very indifferent. Calling his name, there wasn't much fluctuation in her emotions. You are you, Xian is Xian. You don't have to compare yourself with Xian. She continued, although it's cruel, I still want to tell you that you and Xian mean different things to me, so there's nothing to compare. He is the man I love, the future husband I have decided on. So, no matter what, I will not stand on the opposite side of Xian. Zhu Wuxian laughed again. He had always been indifferent, but this laugh was so deep that it made people's hair stand on end. You're really cruel. His voice was low and hoarse, full of ridicule and chilliness, telling me about your feelings for Dmo Xian in front of me, do you think? I don't have any feelings and don't know how to be jealous. Not really. Yiqing Luo's tone was distant, I'm just stating the facts, of course. I also want you to dispel your obsession with me. Zhu Wuxian raised his eyebrows slightly, and the flames on his robe fluttered. A gust of warm wind headed towards Yiqing Luo's face. He wasn't aggressive at all. But when that warm wind approached Yiqing Luo's face, it was merely a finger's distance away. Suddenly, it collided with a beam of red light. Two beams of profound light, after they collided in mid-air, rippled a shallow profound wave. It also blocked off Zhu Wuxian's warm wind. Zhu Wuxian fixed his eyes on Yiqing Luo, who didn't move at all, as he suddenly laughed. Looks like you indeed have your guard up against me. Chapter 52:18. After all, I've been tricked a few times, how could I possibly not learn? Yiqing Luo gave a fake smile as her pink lips twitched, as she looked expressionlessly in front of her. The visible warm wind profound wave dissipated in the air. Faintly, she could smell a faint medicinal fragrance in the air. The same trick, young patriarch Chu has played it a little too many times. She smiled, don't tell me young patriarch Chu thinks that after you've grasped my trust towards you, you can do whatever you want. Zhu Wuxian remained silent, not saying a single word. Looking at the young lady's sweet smile, but her eyes and brows were filled with a tinge of coldness. Especially that pair of slightly curved eyes, there wasn't a single bit of emotion. As though she was looking at a stranger. That kind of alienation. That kind of coldness. He was very clear that his earlier actions had already angered Yiqing Luo. But, if he could do it again, he would still do it. If to make Yiqing Luo lose consciousness temporarily, he would make use of this opportunity to settle the clan extermination feud with Huang Wuyo 10,000 years ago. By then, it wouldn't be too late for him to help Yiqing Luo and Feng Ge take revenge. That was what he thought, and so he did it. But he had not expected that the current Yiqing Luo was already on guard against him. The medicine had yet to reach Yiqing Luo. It had already been isolated by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo. Zhu Wuxian remained silent for a long time, as he slowly opened his mouth. He called out Yiqing Luo's name. That pair of cold black eyes were burning, as he looked at the young lady without blinking. Actually, we don't need to do this. His voice was very calm. In the end, what we're asking for is merely revered worryless life. After our plan is completed, we'll kill revered worryless to fulfill your wish. Isn't that great? No matter what, Huang Wuyo was going to die. This was merely a matter of time. Why did the both of them have to stand on opposing sides? Young Patriarch Chu's idea is good, but... Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved, her gaze was calm, as her words were sharp. On what basis does young Patriarch Chu think that I will agree to let you help me take revenge? She sneered, as her tone was filled with ridicule. Moreover, whether your illusory clan's plan can be completed, is really uncertain. After all, he is revered carefree. After you guys undid Huang Wuyo's seal, you were annihilated by Huang Wuyo. Aren't you just looking for trouble for me? The girl's words were simply an open and frank statement of fact. Zhu Wuxin clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, just because you said that I am your friend. So, young Master Chu, do you think that friends should unconditionally accommodate you? Yiqing Luo laughed. The enmity of exterminating your clan is an enmity, but the enmity of him ruining my mother's life and ruining my entire life, isn't it an enmity? Yiqing Luo smiled as the expression on her face turned silent and solemn. Most importantly, my mother's last wish was to seal Huang Wuyo. Zhu Wuxin fell silent again. He wanted to refute, but on seeing Yiqing Luo's cold and indifferent eyes, he couldn't even spit out half a word. A long time passed. He gave a low chuckle. You're so heartless, but unfortunately, I'm still unable to bear any resentment towards you. His eyes were slightly cold, as his low and slow voice seemed even more oppressive in the midst of suppression. There was a tinge of bitterness, as it seeped into his heart. Then, as you wish. As you wish, these 4 words were said. Zhu Wuxin's surroundings suddenly swept up 10,000 layers of hurricanes. Chapter 52:19. Like a hot knife through butter, the terrifying burst of profound rays instantly drowned Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo could feel it. He didn't show any mercy. The profound chi waves stirred in the air were like a raging tide, forming wave after wave of huge waves. Yiqing Luo raised her glower flame fan and swiftly entered the battle to retaliate. Just as she wished. Just as she wished. For the sake of family feud, he stood on the opposite side of her. Yiqing Luo wanted to. This wasn't what she wished for. It was fate. Both parties had their own responsibilities. After all, they had to fight in order to achieve their goals. But Yiqing Luo didn't intend to explain any further to Zhu Wuxin. The two of them exchanged blows swiftly, causing the entire tunnel to be filled with deafening explosions. Gravel flew everywhere as dust billowed. After Qing Gu checked that Huan San only had external injuries and it wasn't life-threatening, she handed him over to the Illusion Clan's people to watch over. She raised her eyes and her sinister beautiful eyes stared intently at that pink figure in the midst of the exchange. Her beautiful face flickered with a cold light of jealousy. Qing Ji's slender fingers clenched into fists as her heart was filled with resentment. That slut, she actually pretended to be elegant and refined in front of young lord. What thinking for young lord, asking young lord to pay attention to family feud. Ha! How could young lord forget about the blood feud of the Illusion Clan's extermination? How could he possibly give up? Did she really think that by retreating, young lord would really feel sorry for her and give up on the blood feud? What a joke. Look, wasn't young lord going to kill her now? Probably. Feng Qing Luo was about to die of regret. She probably didn't expect young lord to really take action. She really hoped that young lord would kill her. He wanted her to disappear from this world forever and ever. Do you want Feng Qing Luo to disappear? Suddenly, a gloomy and treacherous voice entered his ears. Who? Qing Ji's expression congealed as she looked around alertly. But other than the illusion clan's people, there was no one else. Huan Luo saw Qing Gu looking around and hurriedly asked, "Princess, what's the matter? Didn't you hear?" Qing Gu frowned and was about to ask. But when he saw Huan Luo's worried expression, he didn't have any other strange expressions. The words that were on the tip of his tongue stopped. Could it be that she was the only one who heard that voice just now? "Do you want to kill Feng Qing Luo with your own hands?" That voice rang once again. This time, it replayed clearly in her mind. Qing Ying looked at Huan Luo. When she heard this voice, Huan Luo's expression didn't change. She was still looking at her worriedly. The clear pigeon would be able to confirm. No one but she could hear the voice. She lowered her eyes and hid her thoughts. She shook her head at Huan Luo. "I'm fine. I'm just a little worried about the young master." Huan Luo said, "Young master's strength is definitely above Sister Feng. Young master can definitely subdue Sister Feng. Unless, young master couldn't bear to do it." Of course, Huan Luo did not dare to say this in front of Qing Gu. They had followed the young master for many years. He was very clear about young lord's feelings towards Feng Qing Luo. So even now, they didn't choose to surround Feng Qing Luo. This was not only because he was confident in the young master's strength. Mainly, if they made a move. No matter what the ending was, the young lord would definitely blame it on them. Young lord's wrath was something they couldn't afford. Qing Gu casually replied with a few sentences. She then looked at the battle arena and fell silent. Chapter 52:20. It looked as though she was worried about Zhu Wuxian. But in fact, she was secretly responding to that voice in her heart. "Who are you? What do you mean by this?" That voice could indeed hear what she was thinking. Very quickly, it gave a reply. "The dignified princess of the illusion clan, after 10,000 years, you should be leading the illusion clan to build a new home and become the supreme empress." That sinister voice was hoarse and ear-piercing. But when it fell into Qing Ji's ears, it carried an inexplicable bewitchment. Her heart skipped a few beats. "Do you know why you can't defeat Feng Qing Luo?" That voice, just as it stirred up her inner emotions, it suddenly poured a bucket of cold water on her. Qing Ji's gaze suddenly turned cold. That voice continued, "Because her status is noble, she has the bloodline of the divine phoenix, the most noble woman in the god realm. Because she is the chosen phoenix lady, the chosen one. If no one stops her, she can even step on all the worlds under her control, she will be the only one." As the voice spoke, every sentence fell. The expression on Qing Ji's face became sinister and terrifying again. That tightly clenched fist, the slender fingernails, embedded into the flesh of her palm, but she didn't feel it at all. "And you obviously have the noble bloodline of the illusion clan's princess, so enviable, making people offer treasures with both hands, kneel down to beg for your power. But you ended up in such a miserable state. You are the illusion clan's last direct bloodline illusion clan princess. Obviously, you can also stand above thousands of people, stepping on countless of heads, watching those people fight for you, until their heads bleed." That voice was low and hoarse, stirring up people's hearts. Every word, every sentence, was like a needle, piercing into the deepest part of Qing Ji's heart. It was as if he had dug out all of her wounds, dripping with blood. The darkest thoughts in her heart. There was nowhere to hide. That voice, if Feng Qing Luo disappeared from this world. If Qing Ji's heart, bit by bit, sped up. Her slender white hands, clenched again, her breathing was a little rushed because of nervousness or excitement. That pair of beautiful eyes gradually became gloomy and ruthless. If Feng Qing Luo disappeared, then the so-called Phoenix Maiden candidate would no longer exist. Feng Qing Luo had no way to flaunt her prowess in front of her. So there was no way to seduce His Majesty and young master. And she will, because of your identity as the princess of the illusion race, you will become the target that countless profound practitioners will try to recruit. You will be the queen of the illusory tribe and rule the world. The voice laughed sinisterly. His smile was sinister and bewitching. Qing Ji's fingers gripped her sleeves tightly. You are revered carefree? She asked tentatively. However, he received a definite answer from the other party, yes. What is your purpose? After Qing Gu got the answer, her first reaction was not to be alarmed, but her heart was beating even faster. Because she knew and understood just how strong was this revered carefree from 10,000 years ago. If he could make Feng Qing Luo disappear from this world. So what if he cooperated with the devil? Anyway, she had a way to deal with Huang Wuyo. TSK. Huang Wuyo laughed sinisterly. That laughter made one's hair stand. This seat and you. Make a deal. Chapter 52:21. The light in Qing Ji's eyes grew brighter. His heart was pounding. However, there was not the slightest hint of vigilance or danger. All he felt was the excitement and thrill of making a deal with the devil. Feng Qing Luo is your daughter, are you willing to let this princess kill her? Although Qing Gu was agitated, but her intelligence was still there. Huang Wuyo laughed mockingly. The meaning of her existence is that she is nothing more than a tool that I can use. She can be discarded at any time. TSK. She's so pitiful. Although Qing Pigeon said so, her tone was full of schadenfreude. Look, so what if that bitch is the Phoenix Maiden? Wasn't it because someone didn't like her? Wasn't it because he couldn't get everyone's love? Qing Ji's eyes were filled with excitement and malice. She grinned and said, can you really let me kill her with my own hands? I can guarantee that, Huang Wuyo replied with a chuckle. Qing Ji's jade-like fingers clenched tightly. Her face twisted into a hideous smile, making her look like a rakshasa. What do you need my help with? Huang Wuyo let out a sinister laugh. The soft and ethereal laughter that lingered in one's ears like a devil's voice shook Qing Ji's heart. Don't be nervous. I just hope that you can help me with something. Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian's exchange of blows had already caused the entire underground tunnel to shake till it was as though the God Emperor's tomb was about to collapse. But under the violent shaking, the ground shook again and again. The top was still as solid as a rock. As for the ground, other than a few pieces of gravel flying up, there were no cracks at all. This place, it was really sturdy. Yiqing Luo and Zhu Wuxian exchanged blows once again, and after both parties retreated, her long and narrow eyes squinted coldly without blinking. The profound waves colliding in the air gently rippled, forming layers upon layers of ripples. After the collision, there was a loud bang in the private room. Yiqing Luo stood close to the wall, her fingertips lightly touching the stone wall behind her, looking at the scattered gravel. Chu Wuxin didn't really want to kill her at all. He didn't want to fight to the death with her. His attack seemed ruthless. Every move was swift and fierce. However, there was not the slightest hint of killing intent. The fight went on like this. He was afraid that even if he exhausted all of his energy, he might not be able to determine the victor. Most importantly, this was Huang Wuyo's territory. Once her or Zhu Wuxian's strength was exhausted due to their mutual attacks, when they finally had no combat strength left, what if Huang Wuyo suddenly appeared and caused trouble? After all, they weren't the only ones in the tunnel. There was also an unknown number of undead puppets. Behind Zhu Wuxin, there was a group of people from the illusion race who could protect her. What about her? Because of the grudge between her and Qing Gu. It was already good enough that Qing Gu did not take the opportunity to stab her. Perhaps, Zhu Wuxin's plan was to exhaust her strength and take the opportunity to trap her. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, like ripples of ice, a wisp of dim light flashed past. She abruptly raised the glowing flame fan in her hand. Her pink lips moved slightly as she coldly spat out, "Zhu Wuxin, I don't have the time to waste with you." His fingertips flicked. The wind blades from the glowing flame fan surged like a tide, like a lady scattering flowers, spreading out in all directions. Her pink lips carried a hint of ridicule. "I'm not sure how long Huang Weio's current state can last. Are you sure you want to have a fearless struggle with me here?" Chapter 52-22. The current situation. Firstly, Huang Weio had consumed some poisonous energy, which was why he had become so weak. But in order to enter the place where Huang Weio was sealed, she had set up an ancient forbidden array. She and Zhu Wuxian were wasting time here. If they found a way to resolve the poison in Huang Weio's body, it wouldn't be so easy to poison him the next time. Furthermore, that ancient forbidden array sounded so complicated from the name. If it was solved, it would be even more complicated. There was no need to waste time here. Since you know this, why don't you listen to my arrangements obediently? Zhu Wuxian didn't launch another attack but stood not too far away from Yiqing Luo as he looked at her deeply. That pair of deep cold eyes was filled with tranquil darkness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as her slender fingers, which were holding the glower flame fan, moved casually. She caught a glimpse of Zhu Wuxian's gaze and swiftly shifted to the direction of her fingertips. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "This is your wishful thinking. It's not within the scope of my plan, so why should I listen to your arrangements?" She paused as her gaze fell onto her own fingers as she smiled sweetly. "Moreover, between the both of us, we have a huge amount of suspicion and distrust towards each other, so why must we force ourselves to stand on the same line?" Zhu Wuxian's eyes congealed slightly. He and Yiqing Luo were in a battle. The glower flame fan was Yiqing Luo's main weapon. The minute she moved the glower flame fan, his body's conditioned reflex had already made the most intuitive judgment. He looked at Yiqing Luo's hand alertly, in case she suddenly made a move. This was normal. But he had no way to refute Yiqing Luo's words. It was indeed so. There was no real trust between him and Yiqing Luo. He would instinctively be on guard against her. Just like her suspicions towards him, she had long been on guard against him. These two people, if they really stood on the same line, they would probably be even more exhausted physically and mentally. But unfortunately, even so, he still wanted to keep Yiqing Luo by his side, to let her belong to him alone forever. "Zhu Wuxian, you're lenient towards me, but it doesn't mean that I will be merciful." Suddenly, the girl's clear and melodious voice sounded, as cold as water. Immediately after, the girl who was originally carelessly caressing the gourd flame fan, suddenly made a move. Swish swish swish, a hurricane swept through the tunnel. It was surging with blazing flames. The raging waves slapped against the surrounding air like waves splashing in the sea. In that long and deep tunnel, the originally bright and clear environment, as the young girl's profound light surged, a faint and indistinct figure actually appeared in a flash. Chapter 52-23. Zhu Wuxin frowned slightly. Even though he was not very conscious, he could still clearly feel the coldness of the dagger on his neck as it pressed against his skin. All the girl had to do was use a little more strength. That dagger would definitely pierce through his skin. Beside his ear, the young girl's clear and sweet voice carried a hint of laughter. "Young Master Chu, how does this feeling feel?" Chu Wuxin's eyelashes trembled slightly. The young girl's smile deepened. Young Master Chu should understand the principle of not doing to others what they don't want done to them, right? He had used the same method on her over and over again. Now, she was using the same method on him. She wanted him to have a good taste of being trampled on. Zhu Wuxin had made use of her trust several times to achieve his goals. Yiqing Luo still had some opinions in her heart and she couldn't act as though nothing had happened. The lines on Zhu Wuxian's cold and hard face were as cold as before. There was no change in his expression at all. That pair of slightly hazy but still cold eyes met the young girl's gaze without blinking. His eyes were calm, and his emotions could not be seen. "Young Master." "Feng Qing Luo, let go of young Master. What do you want to do? If you dare to touch a hair on the young Master's head, the Illusion clan will use all of our power to make you pay the price." Zhu Wuxin said nothing. On the other hand, the people of the Illusion tribe shouted impatiently. One by one, they stared at Yiqing Luo nervously. He was afraid that Yiqing Luo's hand would tremble and hurt Zhu Wuxian. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly, her smile was like a flower, pure and beautiful. However, the words that came out of his mouth were filled with a sharp coldness. "Right now, your young master is in my hands. If you want your young master to live, you'd better obediently open the restrictive formation that Huang Wuyo set up here." In order to completely break Huang Wuyo's seal, he had to first destroy the array that Huang Wuyo had set up. While Huang Wuyo was being corroded by the poison, Lin Fan took the opportunity. It was the best opportunity to break through the formation. The people of the Illusion race were so confident that they could come here. There must be a way to break the formation. When the people from the Illusory clan heard Yiqing Luo's conditions, their expressions changed drastically. Opening up the restriction array, wouldn't that be allowing Feng Qing Luo to rush in and seal revered Warriorless completely? How could they possibly break the forbidden spell in front of Yiqing Luo? But, the young master couldn't ignore it. The people of the Illusion clan were full of hesitation and confusion. Huan Luo looked at Zhu Wuxin, who was being restrained. Her sharp blade flickered with a cold silver light. It was as if it was going to cut Zhu Wuxin's neck in the next instant. Chapter 52-24. Huan Luo was once again rendered speechless. The Illusion clansmen looked at the young lady's arrogant attitude and immediately turned to look at their other pillar, Illusion clan's princess, Qing Gu. "Princess, quickly think of a way, that slut really wants to kill young master. Princess, are we really going to listen to her? And undo the curse? No. We must not undo it. Once the curse is undone, that slut will be one step ahead of us. How are we going to settle the blood feud between us?" Once she said that, the Illusion clansmen were even more furious and agitated. But Qing Gu kept her head lowered and didn't say a word. Her messy hair covered the expression on her face and concealed all of her aura. She didn't make any movements at all. Even if she was impatient. Young master was still being restrained by Feng Qing Luo. Although they didn't have much contact with Feng Qing Luo, but they knew that the other party was definitely not a patient person. If they didn't give an answer after a long time, causing Feng Qing Luo to be anxious and directly kill their young master. Thinking of this, how could the Illusion clansmen maintain their composure? "Princess, are you going to stay here and watch young master being killed by that slut?" Someone's tone was slightly heavy. Young Master Chu's life was in danger. As the Illusion clan's princess, how could she not show any expression? But the young lady who had her head lowered still didn't raise her eyes. He didn't even move an inch. That person was the elder of the illusion clan and had a stubborn and urgent hope to take revenge for the family feud and revitalize the illusion clan. Right now, it was the most crucial moment. Naturally, he was filled with anxiety. That person couldn't help but urged, "Princess, are you not going to save young Master Chu? If Princess is not willing, then we can only bypass Princess's command and save young Master first." After that person finished, he stared at Chingu. But he still didn't get any response from Chingu. That person was so angry that he flicked his sleeves angrily and turned around to rush towards Chu Wuxian's direction. Just as he turned around, a sharp pain came from his chest. It was as if something sharp had torn his body apart. That person lowered his head and saw his chest. A slender jade-like hand had pierced through him. "Princess, Princess." That person was astonished. He turned his head in disbelief and looked behind him. It was Qing Ji's hand that had penetrated his chest. The princess of the illusion race wanted to kill him. "Princess." Grand Elder Huan III. Grand Elder Huan III. The people of the illusion tribe were stunned when they saw this scene. Why did the princess kill the 3 founding elders? The person known as Grand Elder Huan III had no way of knowing the answer. When he turned around and saw Qing Ji's sinister smile on her face, he felt a chill run down his spine. The hand that pierced through his chest tightened its grip. Caw! His heart was crushed. Huan San died with everlasting regret. Qinggu slowly withdrew her hand. Her slender fingers and fair arms were stained with sticky blood. She raised her head slightly, revealing her exquisite face. That one glance caused everyone's hearts to contract abruptly. What kind of face was that? What kind of eyes were those? That clearly delicate and beautiful face was now twisted into a ball of malevolence. The contorted lines were extremely terrifying. That pair of eyes was also filled with a sinister smile. It was as if she didn't care about anything in the world. Then, the crowd watched as Qinggu slowly opened up her bloody hand. Chapter 52-25. Her blood-drenched hands were slender and delicate. Between her fingers was a piece of jade that shone with a mysterious light. That was the profound heart jade. Elder Huan III's profound heart jade had been dug out by Qinggu. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" The illusion clan members exclaimed in shock. They looked at Qinggu with fear in their eyes. They could not believe their eyes. Their illusion clan had been exterminated 10,000 years ago until now. There were only 20 of them left. Because of this, even if someone from the illusion clan did something to harm Li, they would only punish him. At most, they would punish him a little. It was impossible for them to take his life. But now, their lady princess had actually attacked and killed Grand Elder Huan III, who had done nothing wrong at all. Elder Huan III was second only to the princess in the illusion clan. Why would the princess do this? The people of the illusion clan were puzzled. Qinggu followed the voice and looked at the illusion clan member. The smile at the corner of her mouth was sinister and terrifying. After that, a figure suddenly flashed, and it suddenly flew towards the person who spoke. Elder Huan III had been hit because he was not on guard against Qinggu. But this time, the people of the illusory tribe were already frightened by Qing Ji's strange appearance. They saw Qinggu move. Everyone dodged to the side. But Qing Ji's strength was above theirs. The person who had spoken just now tried to escape. However, Qinggu still managed to grab him by the neck and press him to the ground. Dong! There was a loud bang. That person's head was pressed against the rain. He could even feel a sticky liquid seeping out of his head. He opened his mouth and struggled to break free of Qing Ji's hand. But he had no chance to struggle. He felt a dull pain in his chest. Qin Ji's hand, which was stained with Elder Huan III's blood, stabbed into his heart. Then there was no more sound. When Qin Gu pulled her hand back, there was a profound heart jade in her palm. The people of the Illusion clan did not dare to speak anymore. They looked at Qin Gu in shock and fear. Their princess had killed another illusory race member. Could it be that the princess had lost her mind? What are you all standing there for? Wait for her to kill all of you. Right when everyone was shocked and terrified, and their minds were filled with wild guesses, a clear and indifferent voice suddenly entered into their ears. Everyone was taken aback and looked in the direction of the voice. The girl who had been restraining Zhu Wuxin was now looking at them calmly. The black-haired, peach-colored young woman had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, there was not the slightest trace of emotion on her face. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be covered in frost. There was also a hint of sarcasm in his voice. It was as if he was mocking their stupidity and ignorance. When they were looking at Yi Qing Luo, Qin Gu also glanced sideways, as she stared at Yi Qing Luo sinisterly. The murderous intent in his eyes was surging like a tide, as though it wanted to swallow Yi Qing Luo up. Is this your doing? What did you do to our princess? Someone couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and cursed while gnashing his teeth. As soon as he said that, the crowd seemed to have found an excuse as they stared angrily at Yi Qing Luo as they started to accuse her. You guys are really stupid. No wonder the once mysterious and powerful Illusion clan had fallen to such a state. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly, as her tone was filled with ridicule. You guys can't even read a person's heart. How did you manage to divine for others, predict the future? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.